So the types of Punnett squares we're learning about today are a little bit more complex than the ones we've learned about before. So just sort of building our way up bit by bit. We're going to start by talking about blood type, which is actually an example of codominance, just a like really specific one. But it's also a little bit more complex than that because it's also an example of a time when there's more than two alleles. There's three. So in blood type, you can have, I'll say example of codominance and multiple alleles. So for blood type, you actually have three alleles instead of two. Okay, and Zoom, as a reminder, when we're doing notes, if you want to turn your camera off, that's fine. Okay, so are you guys familiar with what the blood types are? Do you know them? Okay, what are they?
A plus and minus, B plus and minus.
Good.
Does O have a plus? Or is it only a?
It can. So we're today just going to do the A's and AB and B and O and not the pluses and minuses because that's a different gene. But they can all be plus or minus, and I'll talk about that in just a second. So possible blood types are A, B, AB, and O. And the reason that they are what they are is there are special like proteins that are on your red blood cells that act as signals to the rest of your body to be like, this blood belongs here. So for example, if you have type A blood, then on your, I'm just going to like draw a little red blood cell, even though it's pink. This is a red blood cell. They're little donuts without a hole all the way through. But let's say if you're type A, you have like these triangle glycoproteins is what they're called, sticking off your cell. This is type A. And then if you're type B, donut in the middle, you might have like these other glycoproteins that are a slightly different shape. Now, your immune system is really good at noticing things that are not supposed to be in your body. So if you're type A and someone gives you a donation of blood that's type B, your immune system is going to be like, whoa, this isn't supposed to be here. It's an infection. We should like kill these cells, which is called shock when that happens. And it's really bad and it can kill you. So you need to receive the right blood type for your body. Go ahead, Logan.
Can't it go like reverse?
What do you mean?
The less rough blood types can donate to like the.
Yeah, so I'm going to talk about that now. So for people who are AB, here's their blood. This is codominance. So what are they going to have? They're going to have both. So they're going to have some of these type A's, and they're going to have some of these type B's. Okay, this is obviously a simplified version of this picture, but this is type AB. So now, if you're type AB, can you receive type B blood? Yeah, because you have those glycoproteins. So your body's going to be like, cool, that's supposed to be here. And you can also receive type A blood because, again, your body's going to be like, cool, that's supposed to be here. So people who are type AB can receive blood from other people who are AB, or people who are B, or people who are A, which is great.
So
Now
is
let's talk
type
about
A B like incomplete dominance, or is it its own allele?
codominance. So people who are type AB have one type A allele and one type B allele. It's not blending, it's both are showing. Okay, good question. All right, the last option is you can be type O. And if you're type O, you have no glycoproteins at all on your cells. So this is type O. So people who are type O Who can they receive blood from?
Type O.
Only type O. Because if they get anything else, their immune system's going to be like, yikers. No, doesn't go here. Okay. And then adding the positive and negative, the positive is just another protein. So if you're positive, you have an extra protein on there that's like the positive protein. So people who are O negative, they can give blood to literally anyone else because their blood cells are kind of like stealth mode invisible. They have no proteins on them at all. People who are AB positive can get blood from anyone because they have all the possible proteins. So their immune system is like, yay, no problems with this. Okay, I'm just going to make a note of that. So I'm going to say type O can donate to anyone. Which if your parents are type O, they donate blood, the Red Cross probably calls them like all the time. My mom is O negative and all the time they're like, can you donate? Can you donate? Can you donate? Because they always want type O blood. Because if you pick someone up in an ambulance after an accident, and you don't know their blood type, you can always give them type O and they'll be okay. And then type AB can receive from anyone. And I'll just say that this is O negative and this is AB positive, but we're not going to do any problems with the positives and negatives. It's just like cool to know. Oh, a zoomer. Okay. So now we're going to take this and we're going to do some Punnett squares using this information. So if you scroll down, you will find a place where we're going to write our different alleles. Because this is codominance, how many dominant traits are we going to have? Two, right. A and B are both dominant. So when we write the alleles for this, we use I's. Don't ask me why, because I don't know, we just do. So I with an exponent or superscript A codes for type A. I with a superscript B, capital A and capital B, codes for type B. And then a lowercase I codes for type O. So is type O blood dominant or recessive?
Recessive.
Recessive because it has a little letter. Okay.
So it's more rare.
You would think, but actually I don't know if it is or not. I think AB is actually the rarest blood type. I'm pretty sure it is. I'm pretty sure AB is the rarest. I don't necessarily know why that is, but actually we'll be able to see why when we do the Punnett squares. Why? Okay. So going from here, we're going to make this giant table so you can refer back to it easily in the future. So we have our genotypes, our phenotypes, and our terms for this. Make my pen a little smaller. Okay, so possible genotypes for blood type. You can be I, big A, I, big A. You can be I, big A, small I. You can be I, big A, I, big B. You can be I, big B, I, big B. You can be I, big B, small I. And you can be two small i's. Those are all the possible genotypes for blood. But like we said before, there's only 4 phenotypes, your physical appearances or your physical blood type. Okay. So if you have two big A's, what will you be? What type? Type A. So this person will be type A. What will the second person be? I, big A, small I. Type A, right. Right? If you have a big I and a big B, what will you be?
Type AB.
Yeah, type AB. If you have two big B's, you'll be B. Okay, if you have a big B and a small I,
B.
B. And if you have two little I's, you'll be O. Okay. And then to fill in our terms, two of the same letter is always, what's the term for that?
Homo.
Well,
Homozygous, good. So I'm just going to write H dominant. Stands for homozygous. And then that's also the same for this one. That's two big B's. Okay. If you have two different letters, what's that called?
Heterozygous.
Exactly, heterozygous. So this one that's type A is heterozygous. Is type AB heterozygous?
Yeah.
Yep. Heterozygous. Okay, is this type B heterozygous? Yes. Okay, and then finally, two little I's is
Homo.
homo recessive. Okay, perfect. So now when you're doing these practice problems, this will be a nice thing to refer back to because you'll be able to say like, okay, the problem says the mom is heterozygous type A. That means heterozygous type A, these are the letters you should use. Okay. Now let's try it. Ready? Can I scroll down? Okay. All right, we have a man who has heterozygous B blood and a woman who has heterozygous A blood, and they have a child. What is the chance the child will be type O? Okay, so what will be our mom's genotype?
I'd be, you know, or, yeah, I'd be small.
That'll be the dad.
I am
Mom.
small.
Oh, the man has.
Yeah, so mom is I, capital A, small I, because she's heterozygous. Really just important to not ever use lowercase a's or b's because you'll get confused. So always the a's and b's are capitalized because they're dominants. And then dad is heterozygous B. So he's what Logan said, I capital B, small I. Okay. Then it's time to do our square. So I'm going to put mom going down the side, I capital A, small I. The capital A and the capital B stays with the I. Don't separate them. This goes to I, capital B, small I. And then when you fill it in, keep your exponent superscripts with the letters they came with. So this will be I, capital A, I, capital B. This will be I, capital A, small I. This will be I, capital B, small I, and this will be two small i's. So our question said, what is the chance the child will be type O? What's the chance?
25.
25. Only this child is type O. Okay. So this is 25% chance of type O. Okay. It's also 25% chance of all the other blood types. So a parent who's heterozygous A and a parent who's heterozygous B can have a child of any blood type. Good so far? Awesome. Okay, now we're going to go to the next type then, which is sex-linked traits. So this is a little bit different because in this situation, all of the things we've talked about so far, it hasn't mattered whether the person was male or female because you just gave them the same types of letters anyways. Now it's going to actually matter. So these are going to be traits found on the X chromosome. I think I told you this before, but the Y chromosome is so small that there's really not very many genes that are found on it. So all of these problems that you're going to do, they're going to be traits that are found on the X. Okay. I think we mentioned this before too, but do you guys remember which gender gets these traits more often?
The boys.
Yeah, the boys. So these are more common in males. Do you remember why, Logan?
Because they only use one allele.
Yeah, because males only inherit one X chromosome. So they basically have like a 50-50 chance because they only have to get one letter, and females have to get 2 copies of it to have that trait because usually they're recessive. I'll say usually recessive. Okay. Some examples of these. Does anyone know one?
Always one.
Yeah, color blindness. Which is like the red-green color blindness. There are many types, but red-green is X-linked. Also hemophilia. Also pattern baldness. Does someone have a question?
No, I was gonna just say baldness is the last one.
Yeah. Good job. Which is the baldness where the middle goes bald first and leaves the sides. You might know some men that have that, like your grandpa or something. Also, I think we talked about this before, but cats, their fur color is X-linked also. Okay. And then one other note that I want to put on here is that if a male gets this trait, which parent did he get it from? Mom. Yes. Why?
Because she gave that.
Exactly. He got it from his mom because she gave the X and dad gave what?
Y.
Yeah, dad gave the Y. For a female to have the trait, she had to get the trait from both of her parents because they both gave an X. All right, now let's talk about our alleles for this. I'm gonna do color blindness as our example, but it could be anything, could represent anything. Color blindness is recessive. So for this situation, we're gonna use X's and Y's because it's X-linked. So you have 3 options again. So we have X, we're gonna use the exponents with a capital letter, X with a lowercase letter, and Y. All of the X's and Y's are capitalized. Should I put an exponent superscript letter on the Y?
No.
No, because the trait is X-linked. It's not Y-linked. So do not put any extra letters on the Y. It's just Y. Okay. All right. X capital B is going to stand for normal vision. That's dominant. X lowercase b is going to stand for what? Colorblind. And Y doesn't stand for anything, it's just Y. So we just leave it like that. Okay. Alrighty, so now for this one, we also have multiple genotypes and phenotypes because there are different combinations depending on the gender. So first one, you can be X, capital B, X, capital B. If you're X capital B, what will be your gender?
Female,
Female. And what will be your vision?
normal.
Normal. So this is a normal female. Okay, we'll do the terms after. Next, you could be X capital B, X little b. Again, this will be a female. What will be her vision? Normal, because this is just a normal dominant situation. So the normal vision, capital B, overpowers the small b. But we have a special word for her. Does anyone know what it is? Carrier. Good. So this is a carrier female. And I'm just going to put in parentheses normal. Because she will be normal. She'll have completely normal vision. But she carries the small b, which is important to note. And finally, the third option for females is X small b, and this woman will be what? Colorblind. Woman or female. All right, let's do our terms for the females. So the first one up at the top, X capital B, what will that be?
Homozygous dominant.
Good job. Homozygous dominant. What about X capital B, X little b?
Heterozygous.
Heterozygous, because we're going to look at the exponents, the superscripts, and not at the X's. Okay, so this is hetero. And then our third choice is,
Homozygous recessive.
good job, homozygous recessive. Okay, sweet. Now our other choices will be males. So we have X capital B, Y. This male will have what kind of vision?
Normal.
Normal. Okay, and our other choice is X small b, Y, and this male will be colorblind. Okay, can males be carriers? No. In a sex-linked trait, males cannot be carriers. In a regular trait, like we've done all this time, can males be carriers?
Yeah.
Yeah, just for X-linked they can. Okay, we have a special new term for these because they're different. There's only one allele, not two. So these are both called hemizygous. Hemi means half. The first one is dominant. The second one is recessive. Okay, before we go any further, I'm just going to make a note about the carriers over to the side. So I'm going to say in X-linked traits, only females are carriers. In autosomal traits, which are all the other ones, all heterozygous are carriers. Okay. So if you see a problem like this, just pay close attention to whether it's X-linked or not. And pretty much the examples are only going to be color blindness, hemophilia, maybe baldness.
So wait, why is it hemozygous? Because isn't it Y and allele?
It's hemizygous because there's only one allele for the trait, and hemi means half, like basically you only have half of the alleles. Instead of having two, you have one. So males for X-linked traits are called hemizygous because they only have one. Go ahead, Megan.
For any autosomal traits, could they also be hemizygous?
they won't be unless they have some sort of like chromosomal disorder, because they have 2 of every other chromosome. It's like sickle cell anemia is on like chromosome 11. Like they'll have 2 copies of that because they have a chromosome 11 from mom, a chromosome 11 from dad. The only time they don't have 2 of the same chromosome is this, the X and the Y. Good question. Okay, let's do one practice problem and then I'll let you guys practice on your own. So a carrier woman and a man with normal vision have a child. What is the chance that their son will be colorblind? So first of all, what will be the mom's genotype? Yeah, first of all, the first thing you can do when you see these problems is go ahead and give it 2 X's and an X and a Y. The number one mistake that I see people make when they do these problems is they make it all X's. That doesn't work. You need to have an X and a Y because that's the father. Okay, so you can't cross X, 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 X. All right, so now on the mom's X's, we can put a what and a what?
Big B and a little b.
Good, big B and a little b because she was a carrier. On the dad, what do we give his letters? X, capital B, because he's normal. Does his Y get a letter? No. All right, so I'm going to put mom down the side and dad across the top. And then just like before with blood type, keep your extra letters with your X's or your Y's. So this will be X capital, X capital, X capital Y, X capital, X lowercase, X lowercase y. Okay, so now the number 2 mistake that I see when people do these problems is you have to pay extra close attention to the question. Because this question says, what is the chance their son will be colorblind? That means the question is only asking me about the sons. So I'm only going to look at the boxes that are sons, which is this box and this box. The other 2 boxes, you can't see that anymore. The other 2 boxes are daughters. So I'm going to look at this one and this one. Okay, that means that are my chances going to be out of 4? No, they're only going to be out of 2. So for this one, what is the chance their son will be colorblind? Yeah, 1/2. So 1/2 or 50% colorblind son. Now, if the question changes, the answer will very much change on this. So like, what's the chance they have a colorblind child? 25, because only 1 of 4 is colorblind. So this would be 1/4 or 25% colorblind child. And what's the chance of a colorblind daughter? 0. So 0 out of 4 or 0% colorblind daughter. So the most important thing here is to be really careful about what does the question want me to answer. And for this one, it would have been this, 50%. So even if you did the whole square right, but you said 25, that's the wrong answer. Yeah, Caitlin.
I'm kind of confused.
Okay.
Probably there's a 50% colorblind son and a 0% daughter, and it's just like a child. Like, what's the child?
The child, so it's basically like changing what the question is asking. So if you're just asking about sons, there's only 2 sons. Only these 2 are sons. So you do this one out of 2, 50. If the question said, what's the chance they have a colorblind child? Doesn't care about the gender. Now suddenly your choices are out of 4.
Oh, okay.
So now you only have 1 out of 4, 25% for just a child. And then if you only want to know about daughters, then you're not looking at these, you're only looking at these. None of these are colorblind, so it's 0.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Everybody feel good? Sweet. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is give you some time to practice. You have a new practice sheet. It's the last one. It's just blood type and sex-linked problems. You're welcome to work together on this, but everyone needs to write their own because I'm gonna grade everyone's. So make sure that you are doing it, even if you're working with a friend. If you're on Zoom and you want to stay in a breakout room, you're welcome to stay in a breakout room, or you can leave Zoom and have a lovely weekend. If you're here in person, you are welcome to move around to a lab station if you want to, or move your desk.
Is this in OneNote or Google Classroom?
It is in OneNote. It should be the next page down. Yeah, it's even more squares. I also put on my document a link to the Google version of it if you want to like print one out or if something's wrong. Cool. Zoom, do you want breakout rooms? Take that as no.
Mr. Arnett, I have a question.
Go ahead.
You know the first sheet we did on Monday, like the first genetics practice we did.
Yep.
Can you show me how to do number 8? Because I didn't understand it.
Yeah, hang on, let me reshare my screen. Okay. Is it sharing?
Yeah.
So for number 8, you actually like don't really need a Punnett square for this one. Basically, you need to know that the disease is recessive. So the question is asking you like, even though if people are like, I'll use T's, if people get this, they die. So it's asking you like, why does the allele still exist if like everyone who has 2 little t's dies? So the reason is that if people are this, they're normal. And 2 people who are heterozygous can have a child and have a child who has the disease and dies. So the answer is like, it doesn't disappear because heterozygous people carry the trait and are normal.
Okay, that makes.
Does that make sense?
I think I read the question wrong or something.
Okay. Yeah, you didn't need to do a Punnett square for this one. You just needed to like understand how it works.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Does anyone else have questions on these ones? Yeah, Megan. Yeah. Okay, so for this one, you probably didn't need a Punnett square either. But it basically was saying like 80% of the people can taste it, 20% can't. I don't love this question, but the answer is that tasting it is dominant and not tasting it is recessive. This is not always true about dominant traits, that it's more common, but in this case it is. And you could justify that as like the 80% includes homozygous, dominant, and heterozygous people. So like there should be more of them. Yeah. Yeah. Alex.
My Punnett squares thing is not showing up.
I don't know why that keeps happening. I'm gonna send it to you again,
It's there, but like there's nothing.
but you can't see the questions.
Yeah.
It's been happening like randomly to like just 1 or 2 people. It's like it doesn't distribute all the way or something. Wait, where did my second page go? Ah. And guys, number 11 is done for you because it's just like an absurd question. So I did it for you. Okay, can you see that, Alex?
Oh, yeah.
Great.
And number 2, when you ask the portion, do you need like the percent or would you want us to do?
You can do a percent or a fraction.
Okay.
Does your OneNote ever just like freeze and not let you do anything?
No, my one is usually fine. Like I get all the pages and everything. Doesn't freeze.
Mine doesn't do it super often, but sometimes it won't let me like change to a different thing.
You now have 5 minutes to get to your first class.
If you have questions, guys, don't be afraid to ask them.